Here's the strange thing. If you met a genuinely wealthy person, there's a good chance you wouldn't know it. Not because they're hiding it, because wealth is surprisingly quiet.
Income is loud. Wealth is silent. Income buys the car. Wealth means you don't need the loan. Income buys the watch. Wealth means you don't care who notices it. Income pays for the holiday. Wealth means you could take 6 months off work if you wanted to.
Those are very different things. One is consumption, the other is freedom. And freedom is what money was supposed to buy in the first place.
One of my favorite observations about money comes from the author Morgan Housel. He says that wealth is what you don't see.
Think about that. You can see someone's designer clothes. You can see the kitchen extension. You can see the Porsche. But you can't see the ISA they never spent, the pension they've quietly built for 20 years, the mortgage they've paid off early, the emergency fund sitting in cash, the investments compounding while they sleep.
Real wealth is invisible, and because it's invisible, most people underestimate how powerful it is.
Imagine two neighbors. Both earn £100,000. Both live in similar houses. Both drive decent cars. From the outside, their lives look identical. But behind the scenes, they're completely different. One spends almost everything they earn. Their mortgage stretches them. The cars are leased. The holidays go on the credit card before the bonus arrives. If they lost their job tomorrow, they'd start worrying almost immediately. The other neighbor looks almost exactly the same. But every month, they invest. Automatically, quietly, without posting about it. £500, maybe 1,000, sometimes more. They've built an emergency fund. Their pension is growing. Their ISA keeps compounding. If they lost their job tomorrow, it would be stressful, but it wouldn't be catastrophic.
Who's richer? The answer has nothing to do with salary.
So, how do you actually avoid becoming the person who earns more every year, but never feels wealthier? It starts with changing the order in which you spend your money. Most people do this. Salary arrives, bills are paid, they spend what's left. And if there's anything remaining, they save it. The problem? There's almost never anything left, because spending expands to fill whatever space you give it. Instead, flip the process around. Salary arrives, invest first, then pay your bills. Then enjoy the rest. It sounds almost too simple, but it's one of the biggest behavioral differences between people who merely earn well and people who actually build wealth. The second habit is something I call buying time before buying things. Whenever your income increases, don't immediately upgrade your life. Wait. 3 months. 6 months. See how the new salary actually feels. You might discover you don't really want the bigger car or the more expensive apartment. You only wanted them because you thought that's what successful people were supposed to do. Give yourself time, because delayed decisions are usually better financial decisions. Third, be intentional with lifestyle inflation. I'm not suggesting you live like a student forever. That's not the point. If you've worked hard, enjoy your money. Take the holiday, buy the nice coffee, eat at the restaurant, celebrate your success. But don't automatically spend 100% of every pay rise. A simple rule might be this. Every time your salary increases, invest half of the increase. Enjoy the other half. Your lifestyle improves. Your future improves too. That's a much more sustainable definition of success. Finally, decide what enough actually means. This is probably the hardest question in personal finance. How much is enough? How big does the house need to be? How expensive does the car need to be? How much money do you actually need before you stop chasing more? Because if you never answer those questions, someone else will answer them for you. Advertising will. Social media will. Your colleagues will. Your neighbors will. And strangely enough, their definition of success is always slightly more expensive than yours. Let's go back to the question we started with. Why do people earning £100,000 still feel broke? It's not usually because they don't earn enough. It's because their expectations grew alongside their income. Every promotion came with a bigger mortgage. Every pay rise came with a better car. Every bonus disappeared before it ever reached their savings account. Eventually, they weren't buying freedom anymore. They were buying obligations. And that's the trap. Because earning more money is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with ambition. There's nothing wrong with wanting a comfortable life. But if your spending always rises to meet your income, you'll spend your entire career feeling like financial security is just one more promotion away. The people who quietly become wealthy don't necessarily earn dramatically more than everyone else. They simply keep more of what they earn. They let time do the heavy lifting. They understand something that most people don't. Money isn't about looking successful. It's about having choices. The choice to leave a toxic job. The choice to spend more time with your children. The choice to take 6 months off. The choice to retire earlier than you ever thought possible. That's what wealth really is. Not the car on the driveway, not the watch on your wrist, not the number on your payslip. Freedom. And that's exactly what we're trying to build here. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Yuppie Money. Every week, we'll talk about building wealth as a normal working professional in the UK. No get-rich-quick schemes, no unrealistic side hustles, no pretending everyone can become a millionaire overnight. Just practical advice on careers, investing, pensions, property, and building the kind of financial life that gives you more freedom, not just more stuff. Because at the end of the day, wealth isn't about having the most. It's about needing the least. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So if earning more isn't the answer, why do some people on 6 figures genuinely feel like they're struggling? Surely once you're earning £100,000, you've made it. Well, let's put that number into context. A salary of £100,000 is undeniably a fantastic income. It's an achievement. You've probably spent years building your career, developing specialist skills, taking on more responsibility, and working incredibly hard to get there. But here's the mistake almost everyone makes. We hear £100,000 and we picture £100,000. In reality, that's not what lands in your bank account. Let's say you're employed in England. The moment your salary reaches 6 figures, things start changing. Income tax increases, national insurance is deducted, pension contributions become larger, student loan repayments, if you still have one, increase dramatically. And then there's something that catches many people by surprise. Between £100,000 and £125,140, you begin losing your personal allowance. That creates what's often called the £100,000 tax trap. Every extra pound you earn in that range is taxed far more heavily than most people expect. So someone proudly telling their friends they've just landed a £110,000 job may discover their monthly pay hasn't increased anywhere near as much as they'd imagined. That's the first illusion. Your gross salary isn't your spending money. But that's only half the story. Because even after tax, many people could still build substantial wealth. Yet they don't. Why? Because of something far more powerful than tax. Comparison. Here's something fascinating about human psychology. When you earn £30,000, who are the people around you? Probably colleagues earning similar amounts, friends from university, people renting similar flats, driving similar cars, going on similar holidays. You didn't feel poor because everyone around you was living roughly the same life. Now imagine you've progressed. You're earning £100,000. Who do you work with now? Senior managers, consultants, lawyers, engineers, finance professionals, business owners, people earning £100,000, £150,000, £250,000, some even more. Suddenly, your perfectly good car doesn't feel very impressive. Not because it's changed, because your reference point has. You don't compare yourself to the average UK household anymore. You compare yourself to your office, or your friendship group, or the parents at your children's private school, or the people you see every day on LinkedIn. And comparison is incredibly expensive. Think about social media for a second. You don't see someone's mortgage statement, you see the keys to their new house. You don't see the 5 years they spent saving. You see the holiday in the Maldives. You don't see the pension contributions. You see the new Range Rover. Our brains are brilliant at comparing outcomes, while ignoring the costs that came with them. That's why someone can earn £120,000, look around, and still feel behind. Because there's always someone with the bigger kitchen, the newer car, the nicer watch, the better postcode. The problem is, that game has no finish line. There's a saying from the American investor Morgan Housel that I come back to again and again. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalposts to stop moving. Think about that for a second. The hardest financial skill isn't investing. It isn't budgeting. It isn't understanding tax. It's deciding what is enough. Because if your definition of success keeps changing, you can never actually become successful. You'll always feel one promotion away, one pay rise away, one bonus away, and that's a terrible way to spend your career. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine I gave you two choices. Option 1, you earn £80,000. Everyone around you earns £60,000. Option 2, you earn £120,000. Everyone around you earns £180,000. Financially, option 2 is obviously better. But psychologically, many people would choose option 1. Because humans care far more about relative success than absolute success. We don't just want more. We want more than the people beside us. And that's exactly why lifestyle creep is so dangerous. It isn't driven by greed. It's driven by belonging. The irony is, the people who actually become wealthy often stop playing that game altogether. They stop trying to look successful and start trying to become financially independent. Those are two very different goals. One requires other people's approval. The other requires patience. And patience is far cheaper. The habits that quietly separate high earners from genuinely wealthy people. Imagine earning £100,000 a year. For most people, that sounds like you've made it. You'd imagine a detached house, luxury holidays, weekends away whenever you wanted, and never having to worry about checking your bank balance before buying dinner. So here's something that might surprise you. Thousands of people earning 6 figures genuinely feel like they're just getting by. Not because they're lying, not because they're bad with money, because despite earning more than around 97% of UK taxpayers, they still don't feel wealthy. How is that possible? Where does all the money actually go? And if earning £100,000 doesn't make you feel rich, what will? Today, we're going to answer that question. Because if you don't understand why high earners stay broke, you might spend your entire career chasing a salary that never gives you the life you thought it would. Why people on £100,000 still feel broke. Let's go back 10 years. Picture yourself starting your career. Maybe you were earning £24,000, maybe £28,000, maybe £35,000. Whatever the number was, ask yourself one question. What salary did you think would solve all your problems? For a lot of people, it was £40,000. That sounded like proper money. You imagined you'd stop worrying about bills. You'd save loads, maybe even retire early. Then one day, you got there, and something strange happened. Nothing. Life carried on. The pay rise felt amazing. For about 3 months. Then it became normal. Suddenly, 40,000 wasn't the goal anymore. Now it was 60, then 80, then 100. The finish line moved. Again, and again, and again. If you've ever experienced this, you're not unusual. You're human. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation. Most of us simply call it getting used to things. Humans are astonishingly good at adapting. Win the lottery? You adapt. Move into a nicer house? You adapt. Buy your dream car? You adapt. Eventually, what once felt extraordinary simply becomes Tuesday. And the same thing happens with your salary. That pay rise you dreamed about for years? Within months, it just becomes your salary. You stop feeling lucky. You stop noticing it. Instead, you start noticing everyone earning even more. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The problem isn't that you aren't earning enough. The problem is that your expectations are increasing at exactly the same speed. And expectations are expensive. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to waste all of their money. It never happens like that. Lifestyle creep is incredibly boring, which is exactly why it's so dangerous. Imagine you've just been promoted. Your salary increases by £15,000. You don't immediately buy a Ferrari. Instead, you think, I deserve somewhere a little nicer. So instead of paying £1,000 a month in rent, you pay £1,400. That feels reasonable. A year later, your 3-year-old hatchback starts looking a bit tired. You could keep it, but you've worked hard, so you lease something nicer, an extra £350 a month. Again, perfectly reasonable. Then your colleagues invite you skiing. You'd never have considered it before, but now you can afford it. Then your gym membership upgrades. You stop flying Ryanair because, after all, time is money. You buy better wine. You stop checking restaurant prices. You replace things before they're broken. Not because you're trying to show off, but because this has quietly become your new normal. None of those decisions feels irresponsible. In fact, individually, they're completely understandable. The problem is that they all happen at once. Let's look at two imaginary people. Meet James and Sarah. Both receive exactly the same £20,000 pay rise. James spends almost all of it. Better flat, better car, better holidays, better everything. Sarah does something different. She upgrades her life too, but only slightly. She increases her pension contributions, invests another £500 every month into a stocks and shares ISA, keeps driving her paid-off car, still goes on holiday, still enjoys life, just not with every single pound of the pay rise. 5 years later, they earn exactly the same salary. Their lifestyles look remarkably similar, but one of them owns hundreds of thousands of pounds more in investments. The difference wasn't income. It was what happened immediately after the pay rise. There's a phrase I think about a lot. Income buys comfort. Behavior builds wealth. Those two things are often confused, and they're not remotely the same. Because earning more money makes life easier, but it doesn't automatically make you richer. In fact, some of the highest earners you know are also some of the people under the most financial pressure. Because once your lifestyle expands to fill your income, every pay rise simply becomes another bill. If earning more isn't the answer, why do some people become wealthy while others never seem to get ahead?